Hello, everyone. This is your host, Surashree-YBC, and I welcome you all to today's podcast, The Enlightened Classroom with Surashree. Today's podcast is extremely special to me because today we have Ankur Malhotra, who is not just a visionary in the education space, but he is also a very dear friend of mine from the last couple of years. Ankur Malhotra is the founder and director of TRINITi Chandigarh. TRINITi is the leading organization working in the education space for the last 20 years. It has rich and diverse experience of providing training and allied services to corporate schools, colleges, and universities in North India, being its latest offering. Ankur is an alumni of PEC Chandigarh and he has completed his MBA from NMIMS Mumbai. He brings with himself a large network of celebrity speakers, which I will ask Ankur to introduce in the next segment. He also is on the board of universities like Chitkara University, and he is the student of St. John's School. We luckily had the principal of St. John's School, Mrs. Kavita Das, as our speaker in the last podcast. So today we get to hear from the alumni perspective of the same school. So Ankur, I welcome you to the podcast. And before we go ahead, I would like you to introduce TRINITi a little bit in detail.
Thank you, Surashree, and it's always nice being around you with your effervescent smile and your enthusiasm. And I am energized. Yeah, and coming on the question, about TRINITi. So we started this company in 2002, December 9, with the aim of training students for MBA. So I had just come back from Bombay and was in Chandigarh for a month before I joined my job. And meanwhile, I was always, thinking of starting something on my own. Teaching was a passion with me. And so logically, the idea developed that teaching and entrepreneurship. So a coaching institute was born. This was 2003 approximately. And then in 2005-06, after struggling in that phase, we hit upon a new idea of campus placement training, which was a new idea at that time. And we created a module to train students on employability skills. So we started training almost one engineering college after another. Chitkara, you mentioned, CGC Landra, lovely university, Amritsar College, Hyderabad, Guru Nanak Institutes. Almost 35 colleges were our clients through these next 10 years. And we had a monopoly for the first 3-4 years. And then the industry type changed, the entire dynamics changed. And we decided that, we need to do something new. So we moved to the school education industry and we started training school students on life skills. Then COVID happened, and during the COVID, we realized a lot of schools gave us the suggestion that, you are very good in selecting the right kind of speakers from diverse fields. So why don't you give us some special speaker talks instead of a very long training session? So we decided that this is going to be our future. So we tied up with a lot of schools in North India, and now we have gone beyond North India. Recently did a TEDx event for NLU Nagpur, National Law University Nagpur. So basically we are now providing a lot of speaker sessions, TED Talks, MUNs to schools, colleges across the country, particularly North India, and then some areas like Nagpur and Hyderabad as well. And we specialize, on one hand side, we have a large number of institutes, school, colleges, and corporates also. On the other hand, we have people like you, you are also one of our speakers. You are one of the few speakers who from TEDx reached the TED platform. So very few people know the difference in TEDx and TED. So on one hand side, we have about 500 speakers, and we also have celebrities like Apar Shakti Khurana. We brought Javed Akhtar to Chandigarh. We brought Imtiaz Ali sir, Ashish Vidyarthi, Masaba Gupta, David Kusuma, all kinds of people from all across India and abroad. So we are basically connecting the institutes with the speakers depending upon their requirement. It could be a single session where you come on board, or it could be a whole event like a literary festival or a TED Talk. So depending upon the requirement of the client. So we are basically the connectors. in a
Great.
nutshell.
And
That's what.
I feel that, with the kind of events that you conduct for these education institutions, these events would engage not just the current students, but the alumni as well on a larger scale. So, helping the institutes engage in a better way with the students, alumni, and even with the community around. I think that is what your events help with for the institution.
Absolutely right. And that has been the USP, the Eduthon, which we did last year. We did it with Chetan Bhagat. He was one of our star speakers. And then you have also attended an Eduthon recently where Barkhadat had come. So that has become our USP. And that is our endeavor to, that is our actually a dream to make it really big. Something like the Jaipur Literary Festival. If Jaipur Literary Festival is, of course, from literature background, and our is, of course, from education. So different fields, but the kind of work Mr. Sonjoy has done. So we hope to do that in the coming few years.
No, all the best for that, Ankur. And I'm sure that you will create one of the best properties for education in the ecosystem because the ecosystem needs it. The entire purpose of doing this podcast is to share knowledge around the education ecosystem and how we can make it stronger and how we can make it, into a global ecosystem rather than just keeping it within the institution and within the current students as well.
Absolutely, and it is with the support of people like you, Surashree. I remember when we were going for Eduthon sponsorship, you were one of the first people who said yes, and you came down with your team to Chandigarh, and of course you were one of the speakers and you were one of the sponsors also. So that I think I really appreciate, and it's people like you who have reposed the faith in us at a point when we were still going through the initial, struggle. So that really helps, entrepreneurs like us who are basically trying to create a new dream.
I am glad we could be of some help and support with your journey as well. In a similar way, you also keep on guiding us and supporting us in our journey. So thank you so much for that. And Ankur, we'll go to our first question, which is from your consultancy experience, what are the most common challenges that the educational institutions face in engaging with their communities, maybe, the city that they are in, their alumni, their students, and specifically from India? And from the alumni perspective, what are the challenges that the alumni face while they want to contribute to the institution?
Yeah, so this is a question which is very appropriate. And as my team here who are sitting here with me, they would also agree that one of the main challenges, which an institute faces is that there is no proper database of alumni. I mean, I know of very big institutes who don't have a structured database of an alumni, and as a result, their alumni is not very strong. And the second is they don't have a dedicated alumni cell. There are institutes like the Doon School in Dehradun, where all the so-called stars of Indian industry have studied. But the reason is also they have their dedicated alumni cell. They are in constant touch with their alumni. So that I think makes a lot of, because if you ask your teachers that that they should do this and they should do that as well, teachers are already overburdened. So I think having a dedicated alumni cell really helps in the long run. You just have to make that initial bit of investment and just kind of start the ball rolling from there. So these are the two reasons I think many institutes are suffering. One is the database, and the second is not having a dedicated team.
Okay, and how does it hamper the alumni from contributing? Do you think that the alumni are ready to contribute, in terms of time, in terms of resources to the institution? And how does the current lack of infrastructure and the initiation from the school or the college? I'm not just talking about the primary and secondary schools, I'm also talking about the higher education institutions like your engineering college or like your MBA college. Once the alumni wants to contribute, how are the roadblocks there managed?
See, your first thing is that whether the alumni feels like contributing or not. So, see, a school is a place where everybody has kind of spent about 10 to 12 years.
Yes.
School is very close to everybody's heart. College, you may forget, school, nobody forgets. So, I think if the people, and there are some people from my school, and there are many such schools who have gone to the US and have created big businesses, billions of dollars. So, those people, if they are contacted with the right approach and the right manner, they are definitely there to contribute back financially, mentorship wise, otherwise, so many things. My school, St. John's, is an example of that. Doon School, Lawrence School, Sonawar is an example of that. There are many other schools in India, the so-called heritage schools, they are examples of that, where the alumni has made a very significant contribution, including, for example, IITs. And I think somebody was giving me an example, probably it was you, where the IIT alumna was approached and suddenly wrote a check of a few $1 million just because he was contacted. Before that, nobody had contacted him, you know. So that way, there is a feeling of contribution, definitely, and definitely giving back to their alma mater. But yes, you have to, kind of devote yourself time, and you have to get rid of your whatever things are there in your ecosystem which are preventing that. So definitely there is a feeling of contribution in the alumni, provided you touch it in the right way.
Exactly, exactly. No, I completely like echo your version of it as an alumni, that there is that entire intention to contribute. And if the ecosystem is a little more matured and it takes a little more initiative, I think then the alumni would also be able to help the institution, which they want to do from the bottom of their hearts.
Correct. And they do, and that is there, and they do want to. And there have been cases where in my school also they have contributed, like a squash court, a tennis court, so many things, auditorium, etc., etc. I mean, so they're always there whenever the need arises. So, and I'm sure that is the same case with many other schools and many other institutes. So I don't think so. That feeling is a barrier that is definitely there. How you create that ecosystem and how you create that alumni organization, that is the challenge. And it has to be maybe professionally run and stuff like that. Yeah.
Yes, yes, I agree. So, like we are talking from an alumni's perspective. Now, if we talk from the current students' perspective, because as you said that you interact a lot with the current students in schools as well. So, children that are, as young as 7, 8 years old to maybe college students where you have, some 20, 22-year-olds as well. So, how do you think that certain of these institutions are trying to build a relationship with their current students, because now of course the ecosystem is going towards development and so many new things are being introduced into the ecosystem to create that kind of a satisfaction for the students as well. So how do you think that the institutes now are engaging with their current students in a way which can last a lifetime? So, is there anything that they are doing, which the students will remember for a lifetime, or are they building something towards that right now? Are there any examples that you have?
So you mean to say how are the institutes engaging with their current students so that the relationship lasts a lifetime?
Yes.
So yeah, so that I think is an important factor, that the institute itself, uh, how strong the institute is. So the more the stronger the institute in terms of overall the faculty, the infrastructure, all the things, the stronger will be the bond with the students. And of course, then when they become alumni, the stronger will be give back, the give back by these students. So, and how you have to engage is that you have to basically look after the students holistically. You earlier the thing was that most of the students were run on a lot of discipline, the army kind of discipline, and give them a ragda, as they used to say, and उनको अच्छे से सुबह उठ के उनको exercise भी करनी है और फिर स्कूल में English और maths भी पढ़ानी. Now it is more a holistic approach. Everybody is going towards that, and you have to give them a lot of extracurricular activities. You have to organize TED talks, MUNs, what kind of whatever is latest happening, and you have to treat them like adults, maybe, even though they are students. So many things which were allowed 20 years back, like physical punishment, they're no longer allowed and they should not be allowed. So you have to keep your institute abreast of the changes. So you have to give your students what the current trend is, and that is very, very important. That doesn't mean that you completely forgo discipline. All it means is that you have to do the things in a new style. The old style of, that the iron rod style will not work now. So you have to, kind of develop a new style where you can handle the students well, look into their needs, and create a good institute. The better the institute, the better will be the remembrance of the students. The better will be the remembrance. Then they will obviously give back once they grow up and they realize they have got better than most of the other institutes. They are obviously going to think, "Nahi, yaar, we should, give back." So I think that is the one important criteria.
Yes, I completely agree with this thing, Ankur, that now the modus operandi in the institutions, the way teachers deal with the students, that is changing and that is improving for the best. The kind of emphasis that is given on extracurricular, that is given on hobby classes, that is given on mental health, I think that has drastically improved. And so it is a good ecosystem right now, and with this, of course, the students will also remember the institution more fondly throughout their life. So Ankur, could you highlight some success stories from your experience where improved alumni engagement significantly benefited both the institute and its alumni? Then what were the key factors contributing to these successes?
This is the easiest question in the podcast because I come from a school where it is well known that the Old Boys is one of the strongest in the country. It's called the St. John's Old Boys Association, Sajoba. So recently, our school was ranked number one in the country in the boys category since the last 2 years. And yeah, Old Boys Association is very, very old, in fact, more than 20 years old. And so the contribution has been in terms of so many things. As I said, tennis courts, squash courts, and so many other things they have, contributed to the welfare of the school. Whenever the school has required anything, they have always kind of come together and did something for the school. The reason is also they have a dedicated portal, they have newsletters, and most of all, they have what is called a Sojoba Winter Fest. This winter festival starts with a badminton tournament, and then it continues for a play, a theater kind of play, which they sponsor. And finally, it culminates into a winter ball uh, every December, in the last 10 days of December. And that winter ball is supposed to be like the ball of the entire region where everybody wants to be present. And so all over the world, alumni come from all over the world to attend that winter ball. And that's how popular it is. It used to have about 100 participants. Now it has more than 2,500, 2,500 participants. So these kind of events have become iconic events, uh, and then there are so many other things. They organize what is called a Sujoba car rally in the Himalayas, and so those kind of badminton, tennis, table tennis tournaments, those kind of events. Night cricket they have started, and so they kind of really so that makes a very strong connection. So recently there was an MUN organized, and Ayushman Khurana is one of our alumni. So he Ayushman came for that event. So basically they have been able to tap into all their celebrity alumni and all the celebrity stars and all the stakeholders, all the influencers, the influential people, and all of them come together. And once they come together in the school, then they are all at one level, and that also kind of adds to the entire commitment and camaraderie and the bonhomie. So because when you're back to your school, then you all behave like normal, people. So that also really adds. So that bond is very strong, and because of that bond, I think that organization stands as one of the best old boys organizations. I'm sure there are many others like this in the country. But in this region, in the entire North region, if I see, maybe there must be about 1,000 good schools. So in this region, this is one of the best organizations as far as the alumni. And many people, in fact, have copied our model, and for good reason. And also, it's a good thing because they have started their own associations of alumni on the basis of what we used to do. So I think so that is a kind of in a role model, or like a kind of in a role example. It's an example for others to emulate how they have been able to manage that. So, and it just started very small. Somebody just suggested that there should be an organization. It was formed, and everybody came together, and it just started growing, growing, growing. So it's not going to happen in a single day. It's going to take some time for this alumni thing to happen. It's going to take some time.
Great. I think the winter ball sounds like a blast.
Yeah.
And
You are invited. You are invited for the next winter ball in this December.
Thank you so much. Thank you so much. I feel like royalty, when we call it the winter ball and you're inviting me. And for sure, Ankur, we are going to be there.
Yeah.
Thank you so much for this lovely conversation as well. Extremely insightful. If there are any last thoughts that you want to share before we end the session.
Uh, I mean, I can only share this that this whole niche that you have created of alumni engagement is a very, very new idea. And I think you have hit upon a very good idea. And also, you are executing it pretty well, considering you have IITs and IIMs as your clients. So if you have IITs and IIMs and all the good schools, so I think you are definitely doing a great job. So I think so. You should just continue and keep on innovating in this own sphere. Just from year, maybe initially your idea was a yearbook. Now you are adding more value in terms of technology, some new things coming up, some more exchanges happening between the students and the alumni. So if you keep on innovating like this, I think so. You never know. Sky is the limit.
Exactly.
Yeah.
No, for sure, Ankur. We are dreaming big and we are dreaming big together. And I think that is the perfect note to end this episode with. So thank you so much for being a part of the Enlightened Classroom with Surashree.
Thank you, thank you, thank you, Surashree. Thank you so much for inviting me, and hope to see you soon.